All right, guys, I'm going to try a new little series out here. We're going to call this my Extreme series. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hop in some drafts on DK from time to time, and I don't really like to like preset, hey, I'm going to do a 0 RB or I'm going to really push quarterbacks or whatever. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to see how the first round or two plays out, and kind of depending on, what's there in the first round or two, we're definitely going to try some really, really extreme strategies with these particular videos that we're going to be putting out. You guys hit the like button. You know what to do. Leave me a comment if you like this type of video, and we'll do more of them. If you don't, tell me you don't want to see it again. So for the first round, we still want to give these teams a chance. We don't want to like just put ourselves out of the tournament to begin with. So for the first round, we are definitely just going to kind of be taking the best player available. So here at 6, JJ will probably go, I'm assuming, at 5 because he never falls to 6. We couldn't get JJ in our first extreme draft at pick 6, could we? That just wouldn't happen. So we're going to go Gibbs. So then right away, I can tell you right now, since I got Gibbs, probably this will be something around like really stretching the hero RB build, or we may just go hyper fragile. Let's see how the next couple rounds plays out. If there's a good running back there in round 2, then we'll probably lean with more, maybe only take like 3 or 4 running backs at the most total. Make sure they're guys we can count on, and then load up on the rest later. We'll see how it plays out. I'm drafting a lot of teams this year, so if you've seen any of my streams, you know that I'm really trying to just, mix up how we draft, right? We don't want to get to the end of it. We don't want to have a whole bunch of teams that all look the same, all the same guys we're super high on. We have 25 to 30% of, and guys who are really good players, but maybe we're not the highest on. We only have like 5%. So I figured this would be a fun way to really see how I could push some drafts and see how I could push some teams, mix up exposures, all that good stuff, all at the same time. We'll see what comes around to us here in round 2. So far, the board is looking a little weird, actually. I just noticed we got Texas T over there in the 2 hole, who started with Brian Thomas Jr. in the 2 spot. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. That kind of makes sense now, knowing why JJ was all the way back there at 5. Had to be somebody pulled up. Also, the 1 hole started with Barkley, so it went Barkley, Thomas, and Chase in the 3 hole, with Jefferson, with Bijan in the 4 hole, Jefferson in the 5. We started with Gibbs in the 6, and then it kind of looks pretty normal after that. Lamb, Genty, Neighbors, Puka. Henry's been going around the 11 or 12 spot a lot on DraftKings. Amon in the 12 spot, paired up with McCaffrey. The Henry drafter takes Nico, and here it comes working back around to us. So assuming one of them stays, because again, we still want to build a good team, so we don't really want to reach too far, but we would like to actually probably get either Achane or Taylor on this team, and then we will kind of lean into that, heavy RB early. Maybe even try real crazy. Maybe even we take another RB in the 3rd and then a 4th a little bit after that. Just keep it at 4. Hope they stay healthy throughout the season, and should give us a lot of other good options along the way at receiver, quarterback, and tight end, since we'll have lots of picks to play with. There's 2 picks till us. All we need somebody to do is take a wide receiver here, and we'll be good. If both of these running backs go off, we'll have to kind of pivot, because I don't really want to reach down too far for like Bucky here. So we'll see. Let's see what these 2 guys do. There goes Achane. Is he going to take Taylor, or can we make the RB thing work? He did not take Taylor, so we are in business. And we started with Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. We may even go running back in the 3rd round. We'll see what the board gives us. This team is definitely going to be an extreme heavy RB team. We're going to load up early in the draft with guys we know we can count on, who we really like, and we're going to draft just very, very minimal. I don't know. Maybe we'll even push it to just 3 running backs and see if we can get crazy lucky. If we would definitely have to have just 3 that don't have the same bye week. We may end up taking a 4th. We'll see what happens. Let's watch what this 2-hole did. He started with Brian Thomas, which is obviously not ideal, but it could work. I mean, if Thomas never falls to the end of round 2, he paired him with Bucky, or if Thomas isn't going to move up naturally to the beginning of the first round. So if Thomas doesn't fall all the way to the end of 2, which I don't believe he will, then it could be a very nice strategy in the fact that he pulled a guy up who's never going to really be on that side of the board. Thomas will probably always be an end of the first, beginning of the second type player. So he's going to have some very unique combinations with him. The Barkley drafter, maybe he's on the same strategy as us as he goes Jacobs now in the second round. Let's see what he does to start the third. Would be nice if DK would ever go to the 20-second clock like Underdog did this year. It would make drafts like this go a little bit quicker. But it is what it is. DraftKings will probably get there someday. It only took them 3 years, I think, to give us a draft board. But here we are, slowly but surely. He goes McBride to start off round 3. And let's start kind of looking and seeing what we want to do here. We could go with Kyren. I haven't been drafting a lot of Kyren this year, so he would definitely be a good team. The only thing with that is he also has a week 8 bye, and with this particular strategy, we actually probably want to spread out our buys a little bit. Generally, I'm not a bye week bro guy. I don't really worry about it too much, but generally we have 5 to 6 running backs, so if a few of them have the same bye week, it's not really that big of a deal. We could take a break on running back and grab one receiver here. Or Lamar, if Lamar hangs around to pick 30, maybe we get him. There goes Wilson. All right, so it's looking good. We're either going to get Lamar or Kyren. But we don't really want Kyren, so maybe Lamar will fall to us. We can look and see what he does. He has Jefferson in London. So I don't know. He may be more tempted to go. Nope, he goes with Lamar. So we're going to stick with it. But we're going to drop down. And we're going to get Chase Brown. He has a different bye week. So now we have our 3 running backs. We have Gibbs, Taylor. We have Chase Brown. All of them have different bye weeks. So we're definitely going to now, I think I'm set on really pushing it to just 4 running backs total on this team. Not sure exactly yet when we'll take the 4th one. We'll see. Let's see what comes around to us in round 4. The 7-hole who started Lamb says he doesn't need him with Dak, so he takes Josh Allen in round 2, backdoors it with Jaden Daniels in round 3. That's quite high draft capital for quarterbacks. It could definitely work. I don't agree with that strategy, and it's not what I would do. If I'm drafting Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, I'm only taking one more quarterback, and it's going to be a lot later in the draft. If you're paying a 2nd or 3rd round price for a quarterback, ideally you would want them to hit your lineup almost, if not every week that they're starting. So therefore, I just think your draft capital is better spent other places. But that's just me. Genty Achan McLaurin was from the 8-hole. We have a neighbor's lad, Kyren, in the 9-hole. You guys let me know what you think. You like this style of video? Also, if you're a DraftKings guy and you're seeing this, come hang out with us Monday through Friday at 9:45 Central Time. Every night we're on live, sometimes just doing 1 DK draft. Sometimes we do 2 if things are going well. Most of the drafts we do are in the big $2 million tournament. Sometimes we'll do some of the smaller ones. Come hang out with us, though. It's a lot of fun. Waiting on the 12 hole here, we have Amon and CMC for him. And now he's going to flip it with Evans and Marvin Harrison. Nice little team he's got going right there. Derrick Henry, Nico, Rice, and now Kittle was from the 11 hole. And as it gets a little closer to us here, let's get off of the board. Okay, so right away we see if one of the top 3 running backs that are on the board, Cook, Hall, or Mixon, all 3 of them actually do not have the same bye week as the 3 running backs that we have. So we will be very tempted just to go ahead and take one of those guys here, be done with it. First 4 rounds, nothing but running backs. We won't draft another running back after that. See if we can make it up in volume at receiver. See if we can tack us on a few quarterbacks that we like, mix some tight ends in there, and see if we can't make the team work. Never know what type of team will win it. Last year, everybody was saying zero RB was definitely the way to go. The slappies were pushing the receivers up the board a lot. All the running backs had really big years, so we just never really know. Also could go down to Hampton. I'm kind of in on Hampton this year. Week 12 bye week doesn't really match up with us. I like Mixon. If Mixon's there, we might go with him too. I'm not a big Travis Hunter guy this year. I don't know. I have my doubts. Maybe I'll talk about him after it gets through this pick here. Debo went there. So, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to take the rookie, get us some late season upside. We know with Brown, Taylor, and Gibbs, we're going to get plenty of production early from those guys. So, if Hampton starts off a little slow, maybe Najee's in the mix more than we like at the beginning of the year. That's okay. We got time to wait. That's our 4 running backs. It works out perfectly. None of them have the same bye week. We are going to stop there. We are not going to draft another running back for this team. Now we will just focus on trying to catch up at receiver. Probably have to go with some later round quarterbacks in order to make that work. We'll see if we can pull it off and land the plane, as they say. I started to touch on Hunter. Hunter is an amazing football player. The thing that worries me, though, is he has, in college, most of the years that he was in college, he had some sort of little injuries here and there. And now he's going to a league where he's going to be playing against even bigger, stronger guys. I just don't know how well that body of his will be able to hold up with all of the hype and everything. Especially the harder hitting safeties, they're going to be looking to put licks on him, coming over the middle, getting hit by linebackers. And what is Jacksonville going to do with him? Clearly they didn't trade everything that they did in order to make him just a receiver. I do think he'll play mostly receiver. I think they'll definitely focus on the offense. But at the same time, he's a young kid, and is he really going to be at his very best when he's trying to consume all of the offensive playbook, trying to learn some defense? There's all this pressure on you to be this, two-way star in the NFL. I don't know. I just don't like him where he's at. He generally goes right here in the 4th round. There's some running backs that I like there. Sometimes I like to take Kittle, near the end of the 4th or into the 5th round. I think I'd most of the time rather take DJ Moore over Hunter. He is definitely a guy who could come back to hurt me. I'm actually kind of hoping that, we get just some kind of news in camp that isn't the best news for him, and maybe his price will drop a little bit. Probably not for long, but maybe even a brief little drop. And if so, I'll try to grab me some shares of him then. We definitely need to start getting some receivers here. We do not need any more running backs. We would love it if Tet would fall to us at this pick for our first receiver, but that probably won't happen. DK will probably be a more realistic pick. We can rock with that. There goes Tet. We figured he would go. We will go DK if he stays on the board. And if not, it'll probably come down to Flowers or JMO. We really hope DK stays on the board just because I think I'd rather have him. I am assuming that Rodgers ends up signing there. If Rodgers does end up signing there, he has definitely shown, a tendency over his career when he has a big play kind of alpha receiver type to kind of lock onto him and hyper target him. I think that'll be good for DK Metcalf if he does sign there. It's better than anything else that they have on the roster right now. As old and possibly washed as Rodgers is, he can still get Metcalf the ball. So far, it's working out like we thought it would after we took Gibbs. We got our 4 running backs in the first 4 rounds. Gibbs, Taylor, Brown, Hampton. It worked out perfectly where they didn't have the same bye week, so we are just going to stop at those 4. And now probably for the next few rounds, we may make one more detour for tight end. But for the most part, we are going to be just smashing receiver, trying to catch up, see if we can pull it off. While we wait, let's look at some of these teams at the beginning who started off a little weird. That 2-hole that went Brian Thomas Jr. from the 2 spot. He then went Bucky and went JSN in the 3rd, which is a little bit high on JSN. Then he turned around and took Hurts in the 4th, followed up by an unstacked Mahomes in the 5th. Again, kind of like the guy in the 7th hole. I don't understand it, but hey, that's why we love DK, right? Because we can get some really fun teams when guys want to just pay the rake. I don't understand why you would take Mahomes in the 4th round and then turn around and invest your 5th round draft capital on another quarterback. I guess it could work. I don't think so. I think if you're going to take a quarterback in the first 4 rounds, you probably should wait for your QB2. Just because you don't want too much draft capital on one position. We can only start one quarterback every week. Even with a strategy like mine where I have 4 running backs in the first 4 rounds, you could say, well, you can only start 3 at the most, 2 at the running back spot, 1 at the flex. Yeah, but over the course of the season, we do have that flex, and having 4 of those guys gives me a really good chance to just take the top 3 scores out of the 4. So I think that's a little different than drafting 2 quarterbacks, say in rounds 2 and 3 or rounds 4 and 5. That's just me, though. You guys tell me what you think. Do you guys ever draft 2 quarterbacks that high like that? Or are you more of a, when I draft a quarterback early, I'm going to wait on my next quarterback? We are a big Ridley fan. I'm kind of in on Tennessee this year. I talked about it on some of my streams. Last year with Will Levis, he actually put up some pretty dang good numbers. I mean, he had a game with 24 points, 26 points, 25 points, 16 points. And we have to believe that the number 1 overall pick in the draft, who had a pretty good year in college last year, you might not think he's the best quarterback prospect in the world, but he definitely seems to have more talent and probably a better prospect than Will Levis was, or probably going to be a better NFL quarterback than Will Levis is, even in his rookie year. So I'm kind of in on Ridley. I feel like if he could do that with Levis last year, then he could probably do better than that this year. Another guy that we like who I think is underpriced is Waddle. I mean, for the last few years, we were always taking Waddle at the 2-3 turn. Last year, he kind of had a down year. Tua missed some time. Waddle seemed to be going to the sidelines about the second quarter of every other football game. So, it kind of brought his overall production down. Now we don't like him. Now you can get him this point in the draft when you used to have to pay a lot higher price for him. So he is definitely a guy that I have been clicking a lot, and it kind of works out good here if one of those 2 at least will hold on for me, because we don't really like Judy and we don't really want to go with another running back. We got lucky and they took Shakir over Waddle. I wouldn't have done it, but he had Josh Allen, so I guess in that sense it did make sense. He probably could have tried to get him to push around 7, though, since that's closer to his ADP than the 66 pick was. Another thing, tell me in the comments, are you the type of drafter who likes to try to push your quarterbacks? We've been talking about that on stream a lot lately. I think it was Friday night and Monday night stream. I was trying to push some quarterbacks, ended up, having to go with grosser stacks, call them the puke stacks, whatever you want, because the quarterbacks I was originally targeting, when I tried to push them around later, because I had maybe one of their top pass catchers, we got sniped on them. I don't know. I'm willing to do that on some teams, because then, like last night, we were picking, I believe it was right out of about the 10 spot, somewhere right in there, and we got to a point where Shakir, I think it was, let's see, I can find it. It was right about in here. Shakir was about 8 or 9 picks or so past ADP. He was, to me, the best player on the board by far. So we ended up taking Shakir there. Now, we had a Marvin Harrison Jr. on that team, and we had drafted DJ Moore earlier in the draft. And so we really wanted to try to get Kyler with them or Williams, at least one of those guys. Both of them was still on the board. Pick 87 would have been slightly ahead on their ADP. So what we decided to do was go ahead and take Shakir here, take the ADP value. The McBride drafter was over in the 2 hole, and he had already taken a quarterback. I believe it was Lamar that he took with McBride, and we got lucky. We pushed it. And Kyler came all the way back to pick 106, so we took him to stack with Marvin Harrison. And then we got lucky again, and Caleb actually flipped around to 111. So we ended up getting Shakir at a discount. And then we also still got both of the quarterbacks, who we were debating on if Shakir would have went, say, the pick right before us. We probably would have ended up waiting. Since we took 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 rounds, one thing that I'm also trying to do with this particular team, we'll talk about it a little more if the guy that I would like stays on the board. If not, we could always pivot. Don't really want to take Kupp, but we might have to on this team because we still need receivers. But the guy I wanted stayed. Olave, to me, is kind of like the Waddle pick. Olave is another guy that, his quarterback situation this year is definitely, you could say, maybe not going to be as good as it was. Depends on what you think of Carr. Carr hasn't been the greatest of quarterbacks, so maybe the rookie Shough is just as good, if not better. I believe Shough will start. I don't think that they're going to go with Rattler. And Olave was in a guy like Waddle that we were taking a lot higher in the draft the last couple years. I'm not saying he should still be a 2-3 turn guy, but I also don't think he should go in the 7th round. So I've been clicking him a lot right now, and we're catching up, considering the fact that we took 4 running backs with our first 4 picks to still end up with DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, and Chris Olave as our top 3 receivers. Considering we didn't start drafting them till round 5, I will take that. And part of my strategy was I specifically was kind of targeting Metcalf there, and then Waddle and Olave, because all of their quarterbacks are pretty later in the draft. Now, we don't want to stick to this, just them. One thing we might do here is we might try to get Fields on this team for some rushing upside, and he's a guy that we don't necessarily need to stack, but we will also keep Tua in mind for one of our QBs, and we'll also keep Shough in mind. And if we really, really have to, since we have Metcalf, we will not be afraid to throw old man Rodgers on at the end of the draft. See what comes back around for us. We have quite a few guys trying to push quarterback here. The 4 hole has not taken a quarterback yet. We haven't. The 8 hole hasn't. The 9 hole hasn't either. we will flip over and start seeing what we want to do now. Still wouldn't mind going with another receiver. Not really any quarterbacks we want. We got Waddle. If we're going to take Tua, then we could actually go Jonnu here. I don't really love the receivers that are on the board right now. And since we have Waddle, since we want Tua to be an option, we're going to go ahead and put Jonnu on there with him. We love the team stacks. Always be stacking. Got to get the team stacks. Sometimes got to get the bring backs. Double stack your quarterback. Always got to stack. I think coming up for this next pick, we would love to jump back to receiver. I like the Texans rookie Higgins. I'm not as down on Pittman as everybody else is. I'm not really that in on Ayuk this year, so hopefully somebody else takes him and we don't have to worry about it. Also kind of in on Bateman. I don't think Hopkins has anything left. I mean, he looked just really, really slow last year. I don't really like Bateman at his ADP. I'm kind of hoping that maybe once camp gets going, maybe there is a little bit of, Hopkins looks rejuvenated coming out of Ravens camp, and then Bateman can fall a little bit. I would like him more back like around picks 140, 150, not necessarily 122. But on this particular team, we just have to make sure that we keep catching up at receiver because we have to hit it with volume since we don't have those super elite guys at the top. Hope that we get lucky. Hope that they kind of ping pong just right. If Higgins is there, we would definitely try to take Higgins because we know a little bit after that. We could also maybe even go with Kirk. That would open up CJ, who's a pretty good value in the draft, I believe, right now, as another QB option. But we'll see what comes to us. Got a couple more picks to get to us. There's some quarterbacks on the board. There's some good running backs on the board. So we got a decent chance that Higgins will come to us. There goes Mooney. Or we could also go Pittman. And then that would open up AR as an option. Or we could just make a detour and go Fields because we talked about how we liked him. I think his job's safe. I'm going to actually do that. We're going to pivot away from receiver one more time. And we're going to take the quarterback. Fields is a guy who I've been kind of taking unstacked for the most part. Sometimes, especially a team like this where I'm trying to get a large volume of receivers, I'll go add maybe more Malachi Corley on at the end of the draft. I liked him kind of as a prospect last year, and I could see him being a guy that they kind of, draw some stuff up for this year. They don't really have a number 2 receiver. It's kind of going to be an open competition. Fields isn't the type of quarterback that you really just want setting in the pocket and making, a bunch of reads all over the field. So I could definitely see that kind of being a part of the offense, them getting a guy like Corley involved. We definitely need to get back to receiver some here now at least. Could go with Shaheed, but it's a little early for him. Don't really want to do any of that. Let's just take for some late season upside because there's guys later in the draft still we think we can get at receiver to help us out early. So we're going to get Luther Burden here. I kind of like Burden. They drafted him for a reason. Ben Johnson is a great play designer. I think they'll find some interesting ways to use him. He's not ideal as our 4th receiver, but again, we're kind of counting on running back to hit our flex most weeks with the type of team that we drafted. We have Fields. We may possibly go with the Richardson. We'll see how the quarterback works out. We have Olave, so if we end up taking Shaheed, then Shook would definitely be an option since it'd be double stacked up. Let's go back to the board and see how it's playing out over here. We're in round 10 right now, or we just drafted in round 10. You guys let me know what you think. Are we going to land this sucker? I think it's going okay considering we took 4 running backs early like that. I think we've started to catch up enough. Again, it's not the ugliest thing in the world to have Metcalf, Waddle, and Olave as your top 3 receivers. If Jonnu can do what he did last year or even close to it, we got some nice little team correlation and Waddle and Smith going on there. We have Taylor, so if we took Richardson, that would be a little more team correlation. The one hole just doubled up on QB with Goff and Herbert. I will be interested to see, well, they already did, yeah. See, the 7 hole, now this is just bad. I mean, I already said it wasn't good to begin with when you take Allen and then you turn around and take Daniels in the 3rd round. And then you turn around and you go ahead and take Dak in the 8th round too. But whatever, makes the pod a little bit easier. Maybe we'll get this extreme team into the playoffs and we'll see what happens with it. We need another receiver here. Let's see, where do we pick at again? After this pick, it'll be 139. Do we want to try to push Shaheed to us to have him doubled up? I kind of like Harris a little bit. I kind of like Coleman a little bit. But on this particular team, I am going to take Shaheed. Reason being that I do not think the Saints overall will be that great of a team this year. So therefore, I feel like they will be playing catch up. They will be having to throw the ball. The fact that I have Olave and I have Shaheed, I kind of like that one of them probably has at least a usable week most weeks because they're nothing else. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot, playing catch up a lot. That works out for us. Come from behind fantasy points or garbage time fantasy points count just as well as any other fantasy points. We don't need running backs anymore when it comes back to us again. If a guy like Harris is still there, we would love to have him, but I doubt that he is. We're not totally out on QJ with them drafting Harris, though. QJ had some, really good spike weeks last year, so he would definitely still be an option. Tua as a second quarterback also might be an option, but I think we want to just keep Waddle on the tight end team stack part of it, and I think we want to skip on Tua for right now. We'll see. I may make a detour to tight end again here. There's a few tight ends on the board that I like. Because I do not believe that Trey Harris will make it to me. Somebody probably takes him, if nothing else, with one of those few auto picks right there coming up. Always got to be aware of that. And there he goes before they even got to the auto picks. I'm not totally ready to give up on him. Let's look. 2 teams need a tight end in front of me. There's 4 decent tight ends on the board, so we're actually going to hold off right now on tight ends. And we are going to take Brown. He plays with Patrick Mahomes. We need receivers still on this team, so we will just keep stacking them on. We are sitting at our 1 quarterback, Justin Fields. We have our 4 running backs that we took early as part of this extreme build. We have 6 receivers so far, 1 tight end. Coming back around to us at pick 50, In that range, we probably will be, if Tua stays, we may go ahead and take Tua, but I'm assuming he might go before then. Don't need running backs. Receiver options that we might be looking at there is maybe a guy like QJ now. I'm not really that in on Kyle Williams, but if he's there at the ADP value, we may take him. I wouldn't mind having either Kyle Pitts or Ferguson as a second tight end on this team. I know. I should be willing to give up on Kyle Pitts. Last year, I was super in on Kyle Pitts. I was also super wrong last year, as I think he just had a couple usable weeks. But, every now and then, he can still go off and give you a 25-pointer. 15 from the tight end spot this late in the draft would be okay. A lot of weeks. 14 is pretty decent. He's a guy capable of putting up a big game. And while he's not a major target for me this year, like I was targeting him a lot more last year on purpose, this year it's more of when I think he's a good pick on a certain type of team, or when he's at a pretty decent value, getting close to his ADP, or in this case it would be quite a bit past his ADP. I'll still take him. I haven't took him ahead of ADP yet. And there goes Kyle Pitts, so that goes out the window. But we are in on Dallas's offense. So if Ferguson makes it to us, which let's see if nobody in front of us now needs a tight end, and the Prescott drafter is right after us. So we'll see. There's a decent chance he makes it to us there. If not, we have guys like QJ at receiver that we could go get. Possibly even Wandale. Tua went off the board, so we'll probably look for like a Richardson, or we definitely want to try to get Tyler Shough on this team. And if you've watched my video on him, or if you've seen my drafts, then you know that I think one of the best late round picks on the board right now is Jalen Milroe, and he is definitely a guy we will try to add to this team as a third quarterback for some really late season upside. We could go and get Freiermuth since we have DK. That would still make Rodgers in there as an option. We're going to do that. I know it's a little bit of a reach. Tight ends are kind of coming off the board, though. We probably could have passed him around again, but we didn't love any of the receivers there. And again, we love correlation. I myself, I kind of feel like we're maybe getting to the point where the Week 17 thing is a little overdone when everybody is doing it. If you've watched some of my stuff, you know that before I got into best ball a few years ago, I came from DFS, where, I learned to think very contrarian. Let's get the low-owned guys. That's how you win the money there. Sometimes chalk works, but I was more of a tournament player versus a cash game player. So, I kind of naturally have that let's build different type of mentality to me. And I just feel like it's so out there now, the Week 17 stuff, that I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind as the summer goes on. I've showed it on a couple of my videos right now. I've been mostly using this one little chart that kind of, it shows you all 3 playoff weeks. It shows you the Week 17 matchups. But then what I really like about it is it had the Vegas implied point total averages for each team over those 3 games. So you can kind of see, at least how Vegas has it as far as which teams is projected to score the most points over those 3 weeks versus which teams are projected to score the least amount of points. Points are better, and fantasy points are fun, and best ball points make your team really good because that means they're getting yards and scoring touchdowns. So I've kind of just been doing that. I've been focusing on trying to build heavy correlated teams as far as just my team stacks, somewhat focusing on teams that I feel will be in good fantasy situations during the fantasy playoffs. We need another receiver here. Don't really want to go with him yet. We're going to go with Leggett. I've been drafting Leggett. I feel like I didn't love him as a prospect last year, the work I did on him, but I didn't hate him. And Bryce Young was really starting to look pretty good towards the end of the year. And I feel like there's something to be said that, some guys are just not quite the type of player that they can really produce as a number one wide receiver. But then when you give them a guy who's profiles as a number one receiver, I was actually hoping Keenan Allen would come back to me in the next round, and I was going to take him there. I almost reached for him in this round, but we went Leggett, hoping that maybe Allen would come back. Anyways, with Ted going to Carolina, I feel like that could very well be what Leggett needs to take the pressure off of him to where he can kind of now just, do his thing as kind of more of the downfield threat, jump ball type guy. I could see him having a pretty good year. So in the 14th round on a team where, again, I'm just trying to attack receiver relentlessly to where I have a high volume of spike week type guys and hope that we get lucky and they ping pong just right, because we should get amazing production from our running back room led by Gibbs and Taylor, backdoored with Brown and Hampton for the super fragile RB build. We got Fields, who can give us some upside at rushing at quarterback. Maybe we start looking at Richardson here as a second quarterback. If Richardson goes, we could always push it a little more because we always have Shough as a back as another option. I don't believe anybody would really take him, or they shouldn't, since I have both of the two main pass catchers at least. Really like tight end there. Let's grab a couple more receivers here, because when it gets to the 19th and 20th rounds on DraftKings, I really, really, really do not like the receivers that are in the 19th and 20th rounds right now. I've been trying to take like a third tight end or Jalen Milroe. There's a couple running backs that hang around who I think are decent picks there, because I feel like they'll be the for sure backup for their team when it's all said and done. And I've been trying to be done at receiver, and we would like to have a few more receivers on this team since we are trying to attack it with volume. And it kind of worked out. The guy that we were hoping, we're going to take a little bit of ADP discount, and we're going to take Dobbs. I think Dobbs fits in really, really well with this team, because we started DK Metcalf, Waddle, and Olave, and then we went with Burden. He might not start the year off. Might take him. He's going to be playing, but he might not start the year off, really smashing for us. Might be more of a late season play as a rookie. And Shaheed's more of a spike week player. Brown will give us some usable weeks. So, having a steady Eddie guy in there might be kind of good on this team. I don't really expect too many spike weeks when I take a guy like Dobbs. I'm more so hoping, he does kind of like he did last year. He had a lot of games where, 19-14, 19-17. He had some games throughout the year where he gave you usable weeks. We have Freiermuth and DK. So if we get pushed out on Shough, we can always fall back on Old Man Rodgers. All of the teams in front of us have either 3 or 2 quarterbacks. So we are going to try to push quarterback one more time around and grab one of these receivers here. I only like taking Lockett. If I have a Ward, I am going to take Wilson. I kind of like Wilson. I think Arizona's offense will be pretty good. He's pretty much got the number 2 role locked up. He's not too old where we have to worry about him falling off the injury cliff. And again, we're just trying to attack the wide receivers room with extreme depth. We probably will go even one more wide receiver for a total of 10. As long as he doesn't go, we'll maybe take Shook there and then maybe come back in the 18th round with a 10th and final receiver. That'll leave us the 19th and 20th rounds to add on a tight end and potentially Milroe or Aaron Rodgers if for some reason Milroe goes early. We'll see what happens with these next few picks and what comes back to us. And the guy in the one hole, oh no, it wasn't the guy in the one hole. It was the guy in the two hole that had. I thought the guy in the one hole was the guy that was taking a lot of quarterbacks, but it was the two hole. He took Mahomes and Hurts. Why he wouldn't stop it there, and he would then go and take an unstacked Tua, I have no clue why you would do that, but hey, he can do him, and we'll do us. It is what it is. We don't mind when other people like paying the rake. Same thing with the guy over in the 7 hole. He started off Lamb and then went Allen and Daniels. No reason on earth why you should draft another quarterback, but he then decided to go ahead and take Dak since he had Lamb. And then I guess he figured he needed even a little more depth, so he had it on Shedeur Sanders in the 16th round. Not really a smart choice in my opinion. I believe that team is pretty much dead. We'll see. That might definitely be one that I have to pull up on a video for my Drafts Gone Wrong series. Four, two, two, two. You never know if somebody's gonna. We could probably push Shook one more round here. I'm going to try to do it because I like Pat Bryant, the rookie. Coach Peyton's been talking him up, calling him the next Michael Thomas, yada, yada. Denver's offense, I think, should be pretty good. And I like him a lot better than the guys that would come back around to me in the 18th round. And we have Freiermuth and we have DK on this team as well. So absolute worst case, if somebody really wants to take Tyler Shook unstacked, then we could always just go with old man Rodgers and hope he really signs with Pittsburgh. I saw that these teams have a good fair amount of quarterbacks though, so unless one of the auto drafters takes a fourth quarterback, oh, never mind, they did it. They took Shook. No biggie. We'll just pivot to Rodgers. Hopefully he stays there. If not, that plan will kind of backfire big time. But we just thought that Pat Bryant could help out this team more than grabbing Shook. We didn't really expect that to happen. I guess he only had 2 quarterbacks, but again, I don't know if Shook is the type of guy that you would want to take unstacked. And now we got sniped on Rodgers also and Milroe. So this team is turning out pretty bad. We're going to really need Fields to just hunker down and be the guy. We could try to pivot out of it still. All of those guys have 3 and 2 quarterbacks, and Neighbors is on the other side of the board. So we're going to see if we can't take Slayton here as another receiver and see if we can't get Jackson Dart to come back to us. The way this draft is going, he probably will not come back to us. But it would be nice if he did, because then we could also hope that the tight end Johnson came back around. We're going to need Fields to do some really good things for us. to make this team work. Luckily, we have a couple teams in the pod who I feel like kind of killed their teams or at least made it harder. We had the two-hole guy who started with Brian Thomas Jr., took Hurts and Mahomes, then went Tua in the 13th round unstacked. So that team, I think, will kind of get held back a little bit. We had the 7-hole guy over here whose team is pretty much dead. He's got good wide receiver firepower and's got Allen and Daniels, but then he decided to take Dak and then also decided to take Sanders and then also decided to take Dak's backup as if having Dak wasn't good enough. I believe he only has, 4 running backs, but unlike my 4 running backs, it's Tyrone Tracy, Javonte Williams as his 2, Eckler as his 3, and Miles Sanders as his 4. So he has 2 Dallas running backs on a team that he only has 4 running backs. That, my friends, is not very smart at all in my opinion. Hopefully one of these guys don't take Dart on the way back. And our third plan that we had to kind of work out on the fly can maybe come through for us. Quarterback will definitely not be a strong suit for us as we only have Fields. And then in this case, we will have Jackson Dart. But we're doing what we can do. We're making it work. And we said we was going to get extreme, and that is exactly what we did. ADP-wise, Dart is the highest guy on the board, though, so there's probably a decent chance that he doesn't come to us. We could always, absolute worst case, have to go with, take a long shot pick on Will Howard in case Rodgers doesn't sign there. And there went Dart. We didn't think we could get that lucky. We're going to stay with the Tennessee team stack that we have. The New Orleans team stack that we have going, though, and we're going to take Jonnu. So here's what I'm thinking I'm going to do at this point. We said this was going to be an extreme series, and that's exactly what it's going to be. We're not going to be scared. What we're going to do is we're going to get really extreme with it, and we're going to keep just a single quarterback, Justin Fields. We're going to hope that he stays healthy all year. This team is probably dead. Yes, I realize that, but we wanted to do this extreme series, and we got sniped on some of our other guys. But, if Justin Fields stays healthy, it is not that unlikely that a team finishes in first or second place, even taking no points 1 week from their quarterback. Fields has a pretty decent floor, I think, with his rushing ability. So we're going to hope that Fields stays healthy all year, plays the whole year. His rushing ability gives us at least a usable, decent score most weeks. He's going to have some big games where, his rushing makes for a really nice score. And then we're actually going to probably just take maybe either like a 4th tight end or add a little bit more to either receiver or pivot off of our just 4 running backs. Maybe we could go with like Hunter. We have Waddle. We have the Miami thing going. Let's go with Gordon as our last pick. So we moved off of just keeping it at 4 running backs, and we actually went to 5 running backs. So we kind of switched in the middle of the draft. It's extreme. I told you it would be. We finished up with the 1, 5, 11, 3 tight ends, just the way it worked out, we didn't really get some of the other quarterbacks that we wanted. So we're going to really push it at quarterback. Like I said, we're going to hope that Fields stays healthy all year. The games he played, let's just look at last year. When he was playing, we would like it to be more than 11, but if he could keep us closer to the 19 as his floor, then give us those 30-point or more games when he goes off, that would be really nice. We feel like our running back room is going to be what carries the teams between Gibbs and Taylor. We got Brown, we got Hampton, we threw Ollie Gordon on there at the end since we had a couple Miami players already. Receiver room, we just made up for it at volume. We have DK Metcalf, we have Waddle, we have Olave, we have Burden, we have Shaheed, we have Brown, we have Leggett, we have Dobbs, we have Wilson, we have the rookie Bryant in Denver, we have Slayton. Tight end room, we have Johnson was one of our late round picks, we have Freiermuth, and we have Jonnu Smith as our tight end that we picked first. Anyways, this is JT Best Ball. Hope you enjoyed it. The team's probably dead, but we told you we were going to get extreme with it, really push some stuff, and that's what we did. Leave a like if you like it. Leave a comment. Let me know what other type of extreme builds you want me to try. Talk to you guys later. Have a great day.